For almost 2 decades, Android's biggest selling point wasn't better cameras or faster processors. It was freedom. Back when Android first got launched, Google positioned it as the open alternative to Apple's walled garden. Apple believed it should decide what could and couldn't run on the phone. Android took a different approach. If you wanted to install an app from outside the Play Store, you could. If you wanted to customize your launcher, flash a custom ROM, or completely change how your phone looked, nobody was stopping you. Sure, most people never rooted the phones or installed custom ROMs, but that wasn't really the point. The point was that you could. That freedom became part of Android's identity. Even people who never have touched an APK liked knowing that they owned a device that trusts them to make their own decisions. But over time, Android started changing. Not all at once, it happened piece by piece. Google introduced SafetyNet, making it harder for rooted and modified devices to use certain apps, banking apps, payment services, even some games began checking your phone whether it was clean. Then came Play Integrity API, which expanded those checks even further. Suddenly, running custom software wasn't just a hobby anymore. Phone manufacturers slowly borrowed more from Apple's design language. Hyper simple interfaces, bigger focus on consistency, control centers that looked surprisingly familiar. None of these changes were anything but good. The problem isn't that Android improved. The problem is what Android may have started giving up in return. And that's exactly why Google's latest change has sparked so much debate. Starting a phased rollout beginning in September 2026, Google plans to require developers distributing Android apps outside the Play Store to go through a verification process before those apps can be installed on most certified Android devices. Google says the goal is simple: stop malware, protect users from scams, make it harder for anonymous developers to distribute harmful software. For the average person who only downloads apps from the Play Store, this probably won't change daily life very much. But for Android enthusiasts, open source developers, hobbyists, and anyone who values freedom, it feels like something much bigger. Because this isn't just another security feature. It's another step forward, Google deciding who gets to participate in Android's ecosystem. To be fair, Google isn't making this decision for no reason. Android has always dealt with more malware than iPhone, especially through apps downloaded outside official stores. Every year, countless users are tricked into installing fake banking apps, crypto scams, and malicious APKs through messaging apps. Google wants to reduce that. And honestly, that's a reasonable goal. The uncomfortable part is the trade off. For years, Android's philosophy was basically here's your phone, use it however you want. Now the philosophy feels closer to we'll let you use it as long as we think it's safe. If that sounds familiar, it's because that's exactly how Apple approached the iPhone from day one. To Apple's credit, that strategy has worked incredibly well. iPhones are known for security, consistency, and reliability. Most people would never think about app permissions, malware, or verifying downloads because Apple already made those decisions for them. Android was different. Android treated users like adults. Sometimes that meant people made bad decisions. Sometimes it meant they installed malware. Sometimes it meant they created incredible things that would have never existed inside a locked system. Freedom has always been messy. Security has always required limits. And this diagram to me is the problem. The challenge is finding the balance. And today that balance looks very different from what Android originally promised. Now, before anyone jumps into the comments, no, Android hasn't become iOS over the night. You can still customize your phone far more than an iPhone. You still have all the positives, but there's much more negatives now we never anticipated. The gap between iPhone and Android just isn't as wide as it used to be. Maybe that's inevitable. As smartphones mature, companies naturally copy code ideas from each other. Apple borrowed widgets, customization, and USB-C. Android borrowed polish, consistency, and tighter security. But if Android keeps sacrificing openness every time security improves, it's fair to ask a simple question. At what point does Android stop feeling like Android? Maybe Google is making the right decision. Maybe most users will never care. But Android became the world's biggest mobile operating system by giving people something Apple never would: choice. I'll leave it at that.